Hello and welcome to another episode of the IAMKayPee podcast. Now, I'm excited today to announce my first official sponsor of the show, and it's the guys over at the Dapper Gent. Now, they specialise in beard oils, grooming essentials, and have a luxury clothing line, and it's all handmade in Scotland. And you can find them at facebook.com/the Dapper Gent products. Now, my guest today, Robert Garrett, travelled all the way to South America to take part in an Ayahuasca ceremony, and I, for one, am going to be really interested in this one because I've wanted to hear about this for a while. Anyway, let's get going.
You are listening to the IAMKayPee podcast. Here's your host, KP.
Hello, Bob.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to my humble office.
It's awesome. I love it.
So, before we get into anything else, did I see on your Facebook that you had started archery?
Like, I have started it in a sense. I've bought a bow and arrow. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I have listened to every archery podcast possible after listening to Joe Rogan go on about it. And I don't necessarily want to go hunting, maybe one day, but I just kind of got the whole Zen idea behind it. I desperately need another hobby.
It was something that I've always wanted to do, but I just didn't know what the legalities of it, or just ordering a bow and arrow and then shooting it in the woods.
Well, you can't hunt in Scotland with a bow and arrow.
Right, yeah.
I know that much. But you can own a bow and arrow. Mm-hmm. My mum has a really long garden that goes onto the back of the woods. So anyway, I started off with 9 arrows, and within an hour I had a broken bow and was down to 3 arrows, one of which might be in the woods, but maybe I shouldn't say that. However, it's like when you buy a road bike,
right.
You buy the bike and then you realise, well, I need this.
Yeah, there's like add-ons to it, yeah.
And the arrow support, which I didn't know existed until I bought a bow, broke because I had it on the wrong way round.
Right.
Now I know that. I've ordered a new one, a better one, and we're good to go.
Is there a place that you can like shoot it?
There's an archery club.
Right, okay.
So I'm in touch with them. So I'm going to take it along there. But I bought a huge, like, compact straw target. Like, it's pretty hard to miss this thing. So I been firing arrows at that. As of now, my bow is redundant, waiting on an Amazon delivery.
Oh, right, okay.
To make it.
Is that where you got your bow from, Amazon?
No, I bought it from, what's it called? Malix? The gun shop.
Oh, is it a place in Scotland, yeah?
And he's a bow hunter. He hunts in Canada. So I could have got it much cheaper online, but buying it from there, he can fix it, set it up, and all that kind of stuff. And he took me into the basement to like check out some targets and arrows and stuff. And I said to him, I've always dreamt about this moment, but I didn't figure that I'd ever be in here unless there was a zombie apocalypse. This would be the first place you'd come if there was one. Like, so now I know where to go. I know where all the ammo
you have to have your chosen weapon for a zombie apocalypse. I think every man has like in their mind, if a zombie apocalypse happens, they know what they're going to go to. Their weapon will be.
I just came back from the States. I went to see Hannah, who's a girl that I met in Ecuador, and her friend owns a farm out there, and we had the sort of all-American experience. We were drinking beer made from the hops that he grows on his farm, driving an all-terrain vehicle through the mud. And then at the end, he's like, you want to shoot some guns? I said, yeah. And he pulls out a pump-action Remington shotgun with a scope on it that he goes deer hunting with. And then he starts firing clay pigeons up in there. And I hit the clay first time. And him and Hannah were laughing because they said, I've never seen anyone look so surprised in their life. And he actually said to me, he says, well, now you know if there's a zombie apocalypse, you're going to be okay. So,
I think it's a lot easier than people think, like actually hitting a clay pigeon.
Do you know, I used to do a bit of shooting when I was younger because my mate was a gamekeeper. And it was with the old gamekeeper double barrel 12 bore. Couldn't hit a thing, but with the short ones...
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it gives a bigger blast area, so you're more likely to catch something.
Because it made me feel good. Like, I can do this.
So all men have to shoot a gun in their life, probably.
I know. It was quite scary how awesome it was.
Yeah.
Like, do you know the scariest thing? That gun, he said, I said, why? I thought you use a rifle to shoot deer. And he said to me, this costs $250.
Right.
You can go and you can own that for $250.
That's insane.
That's scary.
That's like £150 after
something like that. Yeah.
That's
you
insane.
could probably go into Walmart and buy it.
You just don't have any of that culture over here, like that gun culture.
None at all. But
it seems really embedded in the Americans over there. They're just gun mad. You know, I don't know how I feel about it, because over here we obviously have different laws and whatnot, so you can't just go and shoot a gun anywhere.
You know, but saying that, I don't know if it's just me, but I got a taste of America, like the side that you don't see when you're a tourist, because where Hannah's staying, it's like the hood.
Yeah.
Like, no exaggeration. And especially coming from Scotland, and you're told, listen, it's not like we can just go for a walk where we are. You know, we got to be careful. And I never really realised, like, if you're down on your luck in the States, you're down.
Yeah.
You're not getting back up again. That support's not there.
No.
You know, the free healthcare, the free education and all that. And the police are everywhere. They're driving around, you know, and, you know, if you get a ticket, a DUI or whatever, you're not getting out of the country.
No, that's it for you.
That's it. You're done. And I actually feel like when I'm there, it's like, man, I want to go. I couldn't.
It's not a good feeling.
I don't like it.
Well, I went to high school in America. Like, I lived in Louisiana.
Right.
Played American football for my high school team, and I experienced all the good parts of it. But I was definitely aware of that side of the culture where it's almost the poor get poorer and the rich get richer.
Yeah.
And you can get in a hole quick, like badly. If there's a thing called a GED, which is basically like a high school diploma, and if you don't have that, you're getting nothing, like no jobs or anything like that. Whereas over here, you've got a chance, like if you don't like high school, you've got a chance of going to college, but it seems to be very linear over there, where if you don't go to high school, you're not going to college. If you don't go to college, you're not going to get a job, and you're just screwed.
Yeah, and I really saw that from the point of view of someone who was experiencing it firsthand, who perhaps I'd given a hard time not really fully understanding that, man, like, you know, if you don't have what a lot of us have, like that family support at the beginning of life and being pointed in the right direction, the chances are you're not going to ever get in the right direction, you know. And even the police driving around, even you know, the colour of the police cars, the look of the police cars,
it's intimidating. Yeah,
it's
totally
scary. And then you know that the two guys in there have got a gun as well. I've not done anything wrong.
No,
but
you start to get nervous.
You start to get nervous.
Even though you're just like, nope, I've not done anything.
And I know between Ecuador and the States, I've really, you know, because when I left for Ecuador, we were right in the midst of a referendum, and it was for something for me to focus on and get angry about and passionate about. And I don't know, when I come back, I'm like, actually, really, it's not too bad living here, like, you know.
So we'll get to you going over to South America to do ayahuasca, but first of all, I want to ask you what led you to making the choice to going over there?
Do you know, I kind of figured that would be the first question. It's like, why'd you go over there? Mm-hmm. And initially I would have probably answered something like crippling depression, which was definitely a truth. Mm-hmm. But I've just read Ishmael. Have you read it?
No.
It's an absolute work of art. It's complete and utter genius.
Right.
It's a Q&A between a gorilla and a man. And the gorilla is the teacher and the man's the student. And the gorilla basically flips why man thinks the way he does and why he justifies everything he does. And the reason I went over to Ecuador was growing up with a dad who was very ill and in hospital and getting no answers as to why he was ill. Just being told he's depressed. He's depressed. And never getting the truth, so having to always ask and ask and ask. And I now realise as an adult, I've always been profoundly empathetic to everyone and have always questioned the way of the world. Like when I was small, I would say things to my mum that would worry her. I remember like being very tiny and driving in the car, and I'd be watching the street lamps go past in the town, and I'd say things to her like, there's something wrong. And of course I couldn't articulate what I felt. So she would worry, what's something wrong with my child? But what I meant was that I could feel this didn't feel right. Yeah. That we'd gone in the wrong path or something.
Right.
And
what was not right?
Because I always felt, and I suppose it comes from having to grow up quick, but when you grow up quick, you don't know you've grown up quick. It just means that, like, children used to annoy me when I was a child. Childish behaviour irritated me as a child. It really did. You know, I was just, wasn't like I was mature. Yeah. I wasn't there. Yeah. That bit got skipped.
You were aware of how they were acting. Yeah. And it didn't relate to you.
It didn't relate to me. So that made me always feel like it was me and everyone else.
Yeah, us and them.
Us and them. And I guess it was just an uncomfortable feeling, but something that I'd always experienced. It seemed to happen when I left primary school. Anxiety became a part of my life. And I didn't understand it then. But when you have something like that that's always there, it makes you engaged in, well, I shouldn't feel like this because I've done nothing wrong. Because when you're a kid, you're innocent.
Yeah.
And you feel, well, I haven't done anything to deserve this unpleasant feeling.
Yeah.
So I guess as I got older, all I've done is try to do what everyone else does. So get the job.
Yeah.
Be seen to make mum and dad proud. Look good in front of people. Have that car. You know, be able to answer the question when someone asks you, what do you do?
Yeah.
And be able to...
And hopefully they don't cringe when you say what you do.
When you say it. And so I left school at 16. I had really made up my mind that I was an idiot leaving school. I wasn't academic at all. And I realised I just was distracted more of the time. So I went on to be a mechanic, and I stuck for that for 9 years. And the entire time I'd done that, I didn't know anything other than I didn't want to be a mechanic. That's all I knew. So it took for me to break, like mentally, to leave the trade.
Yeah.
Like I sort of remember my brain really one day just going no, and not letting me do it anymore. And that sort of resulted in my first bout of sickness, which ended up in a couple of confused visits to Murray Royal and psychologists treating me as a sort of overwhelmed adolescent male. So here's some anger management and some art therapy, and they tried to get me to draw pictures for sort of 6 months, which I just couldn't entertain because I knew far better back then.
It sounds like they're trying to put you in a box and just, you know, check off the list for what, you know, and just
take the list. And no medication was offered back then. Not that I was looking for it.
Yeah.
Especially observing the state that my dad was in with his medicine.
You probably weren't looking for medication either, because it'd be scary to accept that there's something wrong with you and you need medication for it. I mean, as a young person, you would just be like, what?
Yeah. You know, I see now that there's a sort of ignorant bliss people can fall into. And for whatever reason, my being wouldn't accept that. I just didn't know it wasn't accepting that. It was I wasn't going to be comfortable until I followed my heart.
Yeah.
I just didn't realise that I wasn't listening to it.
Yeah.
I just thought I had to do what I was meant to do. So I just kept going. I left the motor trade. I tried this, like everything, sweeping up play parks, working in shops, working in pubs, restaurants, carpet shops, just everything. And every time it would just be this sort of conflict. And what then started when I was about 26, I'm 35 next month, it's really a decade, was a headache. And I started to get really, really bad tension headaches. Yeah. Or a tension headache, not plurals, because I would get this tension and it was like my head was in a vice, but it wouldn't go away. It was there when I went to sleep and when I woke up, and it would literally last for months. That's not being a drama queen or exaggeration. It would stay for months.
And that would just become part of your...
It would become part of my life. Yeah. That then makes me irritable. That then makes me walk out of the job. And then this just consisted. And it got to the point where I wasn't recognising any pattern with this headache, but it would get to the point where if I got a hint of it, I'd panic. Right. Because that didn't mean, oh, I've got a headache. That meant, oh, I'm in for 3 months of hell. Yeah. That panic would tense me up and it would just get even worse. I'm not relating this to mental health, though, at any point at this time. And it wasn't until I appeared to be getting myself together and I got a job in the fire service. Yeah. And
I think this is when actually, sorry to interject, but this was actually when I first met you, was when you were actually training to go into the fire service. Yeah.
I first met you when you were tying me up and not on a mat, having just been introduced by Rory.
No, none of that.
No. I remember it that way. It was awesome. And so I'm in the fire service. I've worked my ass off to get into this job. It's renownedly difficult to get into. And I literally walked in the door. I mean, it looked like it was meant to be. Yeah. But, you know, I was fit, I was healthy, I was strong. I was apparently in a good mental place because I'd passed everything they'd asked me to do.
I remember you at that time as well, because you were, like, physically you were really fit. And I remember you used to just come and train with me and Rory, our mutual friend. Yeah. And you would just do everything that we did, and you were in peak condition.
I really... I prided myself on that, you know. At the same time, it was all I had for a while as well, you know, which isn't a bad thing at all, but it was a bit of a crutch I later on realised as well, a distraction. Anyway, I get into the fire service. Now, in the fire service, you do 16 weeks of training at fire college. Now, you should be really happy and like up for it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much miserable. It's very military, yes sir, no sir. I'd never experienced that whole standing on the drill square, yes sir, all that kind of thing. And none of the other guys had as well, a couple of ex-military boys. But still, it's like one guy nicknamed me squad hater because I was putting out this, like I was against everyone there.
Right.
Like even my...
Singling yourself out, basically.
Basically really singled myself out. And I remember thinking, like, what's wrong with me? Like, but I was doing well.
Yeah.
I was doing well in the training. I could do it. I was good at it. Anyway, I battle through that training and I start work as a firefighter. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm now firefighter Bob. I'm not Bob anymore. I'm firefighter Bob.
You went through a few variations of names as well. I remember you as Crazy Bob. And in hindsight, it's probably not the best thing.
No, I think Dory feels quite guilty about that too. You know, that name still goes around Perth now.
Does it?
You know, it came out of the gym, then it goes out into the town.
Right.
Then I actually go crazy.
Yeah.
And now people introduce me, is that Bob? Is that Crazy? They look in their eyes.
I didn't know whether to bring that up.
No, honestly, it's funny. Like, I still get it every now and again. But,
yeah.
Hey man, half of it's true, really. But so I'm in the fire service, and I kind of feel I need to be careful here because, listen, the world needs firefighters.
It's a good job.
It's a good job.
Yeah. It's a career, though.
Yeah, it's a career, but I couldn't survive the men I was working with.
Yeah.
And basically, I used to say to myself it was because it was about bravado, it was about ego. The reality was, what I now realise, I look like this. Maybe I look like a firefighter. But inside, I'm a really sensitive, empathetic man. And that dude was just screaming to be acknowledged. The man's man wasn't there. And it was like I was trying to be that person. And that right there is mental health. That conflict between the heart and the mind, when you're not following this, and instead you're just going with, I should look like this, I should do this, I should drive this car, I should own this house, I should be able to afford this. And going against this, that's the headache.
Yeah.
I still didn't know that back then, though. I had no clue. But now I'm in the fire service, and the headache comes back. And when you work in a carpet shop and you've got a headache, man, I'll be grumpy and I'll get on with it. When you're a firefighter,
you can't skive, really.
You can't skive, but you need to be 100%.
Yeah, switched on.
You need to be switched on. And I wasn't, plain and simple. I wasn't there. And it was affecting my capabilities. It was like stress-induced idiot, stress-induced dyslexia. Just, like knowing you can do something.
But physically can't.
But it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like, why is my hand not tying this knot that I know how to tie, and...
Do you think it slightly reverted you back to when you were in, school or childhood, that sort of...
Yeah. I read a book once, and I think it was a psychology book, and this one bit stood out to me, because I experienced it in the carpet shop with the owner. Anyway, too late.
A carpet shop.
A carpet shop. And for some reason, the manager had this weird effect on me. Like, I would kind of, stumble around him. And I had no reason. I knew him. He'd done jiu-jitsu with me and stuff. Yeah. And I read a book, and it said, if you ever find yourself in a position in front of an individual, and for some reason that you find yourself almost being reduced to like a child, it might be that person is showing traits or mannerisms of someone from your past that had that effect on you.
That's
as a
interesting,
child. And I went through that. I experienced that when I was a child with my mum's boyfriend at the time. Very overpowering individual who had a profound effect on me growing up, and a man's man. And I think a lot of the time that was exactly what was going on in the fire service as well.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And I was literally being reduced to this sort of, like these child coping mechanisms, And anyway, so I take that day off in the fire service because I just can't keep going. I'm in a terrible relationship at the time as well. And, you know, hindsight's great, but when I look back, I now realise, like, wow, man, I see, like, you know, if there was a start of a breakdown, I can really see it.
Yeah.
Like that, you know, going to fire college was the knot came undone there.
The catalyst.
And it just started going
unthreaded,
spiraling. And, you know, I took time off and I went to the doctors, and I was so desperate at this point, like, so desperate. And I was like, man, I am going to take a scalpel to my temples. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm going to need this release. I can't deal with it. And he gave me diazepam, and then it was discussed, you know, manic depression, bipolar, anxiety disorders, all this stuff. And
is that something that always comes together when they diagnose depression, or can you diagnose it individually? Is it always bipolar? And
no, you know, you know what I know? I always knew I never had anything other than my mind that was wrong with me. But you could read the definition of bipolar and diagnose yourself in 5 minutes. The reason I think bipolar was mentioned was that I had a very obvious pattern in my life that emerged. I seemed to be able to keep together for 6 months and fall to bits for 6 months.
Right.
And that was consistent after leaving the motor trade in 2006. It would literally be a job for 6 months, headache, depression, quit the job, 6 months being a bum.
It's just a cycle.
Yeah, it was a cycle, constant cycle, which you don't recognise when you're in it. However, I am an addict, like, without doubt. I am an addict. Like,
do you have an addictive personality? Is that what
I mean that it's like, I guess I need a focus, like we all do. But if you put pills in front of me, I'm gonna take those pills, and I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
I don't have that. Like, I think if you spend your life in a sort of depressive personality, if something can up you, you don't necessarily feel up, you feel normal.
Yeah.
And I don't want the normal to stop.
Yeah.
And I recognised that when I was younger and I used to party. And I stopped. But it was jiu-jitsu that saved me.
Right.
Traditional jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I'm not making no claims to be that martial artist like yourself at all. But what I meant was the philosophy.
Yeah.
It was the first time in my life, because I was a 20-year-old overweight smoker that ate black pudding and Lorne sausage rolls every day. And it was the first thing that I recognised the lack of physicality that I had, because I enjoyed it so much. It was the first thing I felt good at, but I was getting out of breath. And it was the first thing that motivated me to
get better.
Yeah. And then I was hooked on that.
Do you think it's the routine and the strictness of it and having to accomplish something that you're addicted to with that?
Yeah. And the desire to feel worthwhile. Yeah. And, you know, drugs done that for me. And you know why? Because people really liked me on them. I was good at it.
Did you like yourself on them, though?
I kind of did, yeah. I didn't like myself afterwards at all. But anyway, so that's the past. And then I get this diazepam. And, you know, I had been so freaking miserable and in pain for so long and exhausted. Now, that diazepam was like, just instant, for the first time in years, relaxed. Yeah. Like, just right there. Like, I could have taken 4 Codamol and ibuprofen, paracetamol, naproxen, that did not get rid of that headache. Yeah. The diazepam straight away. And it entertained for me the first time that now I don't need to think about this. I've found something that will take this away. Unfortunately, it felt so good that I wanted it to feel better. Yeah. And that basically started me off on a year of just coming off the rails. Yeah. I did, and unhinged myself because I was done and exhausted about thinking about me and what the hell was going on with me. Like,
just thinking about yourself constantly.
Just thinking, like, just done with it. Yeah. Like, I'm exhausted, and I just didn't want to think about anything else. And, you know, you can distract yourself from yourself very easily, and they done it, as did everything else that followed. And, you know, that sent me down this sort of spiral.
And the timeline is this after
so this is having taken a sick day from the fire service and basically never going back again. Yeah. And being paid at the same time whilst I'm doing it, because I'm off on the sick. so I can afford to do whatever I want. And I mean,
it's strange to hear you talk about this, because I missed all that side of you, because there was a period where I would see you all the time because we were going to the same gym a lot, and then we would train together a lot, but then you got a job at the fire service, and then I didn't see you as much. I don't know what I was doing, but I was away doing something. So to hear you talk about this is what you unraveling, it's just it's strange to not see it, because I know people hide it well, but every time I've saw you, you've always been a happy person. You've always been, on top of the world and always happy to chat. So it's just to think that someone else is going through that. It's the
stereotypical person that's depressed or suffering, and that's the problem. You can keep it from anyone. Yeah, you really can, and you want to protect your friends as well, and you don't want to feel that you're a burden, and you get sick, fed up of your own voice. Never mind trying to share it with other people. And you're seeing me in the gym, then that's my happy place as well. So it's very much depression. I don't like that word anymore. I'm only going to use it up until a point shortly away. But depression is you're on your own. Yeah, you're on your own, and I realise that more now than ever. And it's all choices. You're that all every day when you wake up. That's a choice. I'm making that decision to stay in that consciousness.
Does having depression make you a loner, or were you a loner already and then you had this depression?
I think I'm going to say intelligence, not like give me an IQ test. Yeah, intelligence, but more an awareness. That I grew up having to go through locked doors to see my old man. Yeah. My old man is a 9.5 stone, the softest, sensitive man you'll ever meet. But because of the severity of his condition, they had to lock him up. Yeah. Not in a prison, in a hospital. And when you grow up with that, you're really seeing the real world. Yeah. You're seeing the effect that the world has on people. Yeah. But you're growing up with it, so you don't know what's going on. But it gives you a much, much bigger awareness of the reality of our beings, like of the capabilities of our own consciousness. And that kind of, it makes you much more sort of questioning and analytical on absolutely everything. And that, I guess, I wouldn't class myself as a loner. I'm an introvert that likes to express himself in an extroverted way, but I think a lot, and that could be come across as a loner, as someone that's isolated.
I actually see a lot of parallels between me and you, to be honest, because I have it, not to some degrees, but I have experienced a lot the same as you, and when you're talking about it, I can relate to it quite a lot, actually. And we've all had bouts of depression, but it's to be actually constantly under that pressure. It's just I couldn't even imagine it, to be honest.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting, yet accompanied by a kind of awareness that I knew that I was a good person. Yeah. And I remember even thinking as a kid, that has to count for something. That has to count for something. Yeah. Being nice, like having a good heart. Yeah. That surely has to count for something. And, I could look around and I could have been judgmental. And I could see happy people, but not think that they're very nice. Yeah. And they could be successful, but not very nice, or coming from a good place. And that kind of sort of was always my pillar that I would go back to. But
sometimes you can have disdain for these people as well who are successful and whatnot, and they're not good people, and here you are just being that you consider yourself a nice person and just not moving forward with yourself.
Yeah, not doing any harm to anyone. No. And if anything, being very empathetic to everyone. Yeah. And growing up in this age is insane. I remember just before I went to Ecuador, before the sort of breakthrough of finding ayahuasca and stuff, I was in the pub with my mates, and it was my round. And I went to the toilet in the Toilet Tams before going to get a pint. And because there's Wi-Fi in the Tams, I pulled out my phone and I'm on the toilet. And I went on Facebook, and I didn't even scroll up or down. Right. I pressed Facebook, and the first thing that came up was a video, and it was blacked out, and it said, "Warning, viewer discretion." Right. So I pressed play.
As you do in the toilet.
As you do in the toilet.
You were in for a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what this is? And do you know, it was just when the Americans had left Iraq, and the surgeons had moved back in, and the video was about 15 machine gun carrying insurgents murdering in broad daylight in the middle of a street about 10 or 12 dudes.
Right.
But what stood out for me at that moment, sitting on the toilet, was that was one, a lack of emotion to what I was watching, but also an awareness that I suddenly realised that I didn't pick out the aggressor or the victim.
Yeah.
All I saw was like me. Yeah. If my seed had been where there wasn't growing, that would have been me. But then what really got to me was coming back down the stairs, giving my mates my pint, and I remember the video was like 2 minutes 30 seconds long. I've just watched 11 men being murdered in broad daylight
In a pub, in a bathroom.
in a bathroom, sitting on the toilet.
Yeah. And
now I'm going back out and having the banter with my mates. I mean, what did I do with that information? What did I do with that?
That is so trippy.
And it's every single day. And, I'm 35 next month. You imagine being growing up now with all that information. So we grow up knowing the world is crazy. Like, ignorance is not bliss for me. Like, how can you... I feel guilty at smiling now. Like, this place is insanity. Like, what's going on? And then you think, well, everything that I'm feeling, a lot of that has got to do with all this.
Yeah. It's strange to be in that position where you can view something like that and just totally be disconnected from
Completely.
it, and then just go back to your. But I think there's an overload of that sort of thing, so you just don't know how to deal with it. I mean, if you were to try and do something about every little thing you watched on Facebook, your mind would just it would explode.
But I really got like obsessed. Like, it bothered me so much. Like, it bothered me to the point where, like, what we need, like, how do we not do this? Like, why aren't we talking about it? Why am I listening to this referendum? We're talking about taxes. Why are we not? Yeah. Why is there not a guy on the podium saying that? Oh, listen, another dude just threw himself off Cornell Hill.
Yeah.
Why is that not the first thing that we're talking about? And just driving me absolutely crazy, and more so because I'm feeling crazy.
Yeah.
And when you're down, you find people that are down.
Right.
You go to them and they come to you.
You just attract each other.
And then you start realising, man, everyone's fucked. Like, really, there's so much real, genuine misery out there, and so much sort of lack of hope. And, just before I went away to Ecuador, a young lad in Tams killed himself. Yeah. And he spoke to me the night before because he'd heard me in the Tams talking, and he pulled me aside and he asked me, "Hey Bob, I was listening to you chatting there. Is there any chance me and you can get a talk sometime?"
Is this young Morgan?
Morgan, yeah.
I know him.
You know him?
I know his dad. Like, we were like, I've known him from my childhood.
Right, yeah.
We used to go to the same primary school together.
It was so sad, and that dude was so... Like, he was an old soul.
Yeah, he was definitely special.
Yeah.
When you meet someone, they just have an air about them.
Oh, massively.
I've only met... It's kind of weird to say this, but I've only met one person that I kind of just felt like that, and it's actually Simon from Biffy Clyro. Right. It wasn't because I was meeting someone famous. Yeah. It was just, when I was in his presence, he just had an air about him.
Energy, yeah.
And I'm not... Like, I used this word before, woo. I'm not at woo-woo, but you can just, it radiates and you can feel it, and it just makes, you feel like this guy, there's something special about them.
Yeah.
I felt the same thing with Morgan.
Completely. I did as well, and more so when I went to his reception after the funeral, and they read out stuff he'd written when he was 14, and you're like, that's not a child writing that. That was someone that was just... aware, and if you're aware in this world and young, good luck, you're
going to pay for it.
Yeah, and it angered me so much because that week in the Perthshire Advertiser on the front page, they were boasting on the front page Perth had just won best tourist visited city, and I just thought, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm glad Tay Street's got beautiful hanging baskets with flowers in it, because your young folk are throwing themselves off Cornell Hill.
It's just,
and we're not going to talk about it.
No, it's not right.
Yeah, and when they were looking for him, they found another body at the bottom of Cornell Hill that they didn't even know that was missing. A young Polish guy.
Just to let people know, Canal Hill is like a large hill just outside of Perth, and
with a sheer cliff at the top. Yeah,
and there's been quite a few people that have thrown themselves off.
Yeah, I know folk from primary school. There was that woman that pushed her and her kids off in the pram.
That's like a kind of a legend around those parts.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, just horrendous. But we don't talk about it.
Yeah, when did you first find out about ayahuasca?
Well,
what led you to it?
Rory Maidens,
our mutual
friend. Rory's played a big part in my growth, actually, and he kind of takes a
mine too, to be honest.
Yeah, pick up Mr. Maiden. Yeah, and he plants seeds, really, I guess, and I don't know how much. Like, I don't know if he saw something in me.
Yeah.
I had a counsellor say to me before I went to Ecuador, "You're a very spiritual person, but you just don't see it." Mm. I said, okay. And I don't know if Rory thought the same, because to introduce someone to Graham Hancock, not everyone's going to be interested in that at all. And it's not like I'd spoke to him about ancient history or psychedelics, but he knew that I was abusing life and chemicals, and he was worried about me. But Rory doesn't embrace worry. No.
He's one of them. Like, even though he has his worries, he's very.
But he won't embrace your worry.
Yeah.
Like, he won't be like, Bob, this. He sort of remains where he's at.
Yeah.
I think, to show you.
And kind of drags you up to where he is.
Yeah, exactly. And I was literally at him and Leanne's house. Now, my ears have kind of got a bit messed up, so I guess 2012 or something like that. And he took my phone. I don't even know if I knew that he had my phone, and he loaded the podcast app onto it. I'd never listened to a podcast, didn't know they existed, didn't know what they were. And he loaded Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock, and he told me to listen to it. And I did. And it was the first interview that Graham and Joe done.
Is that the very first one you listened to? Your first podcast
first
as
podcast
well?
I ever listened to. Never heard of Graham Hancock.
It's going to blow your mind away.
Yeah, wow. Never heard of Graham Hancock. Knew Joe Rogan, but didn't even relate Joe Rogan to being the guy that done the UFC when I was listening to him.
Or X Factor.
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor.
I had to Google him and then, that's Joe Rogan. And then I remember thinking, I always wondered if he was actually like a scrapper, anyway, kind of here nor there. So I'm listening to this podcast, and it's an in-depth explanation into, well, first off, my introduction to Fingerprints of the Gods, his book, and then an in-depth description of his ayahuasca experiences. And am I good to swear? Because I have a couple. Yeah, cool.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah, cool. And because when I listened to it, I remember thinking, what the fuck? Like, and for, I guess, those that haven't listened to it, if you listen to an ayahuasca experience, you kind of you'll just sit there with a confused look on your face, like, what? You spoke to the mother ayahuasca, and you had flesh ripped from your body, and you died, and you were born again.
Well, we should probably explain what ayahuasca is, because there's a lot of people, because there's virtually no talk about any sort of drugs like that in the UK, to be honest, because of this culture. So
first off, ayahuasca by Graham Hancock was being delivered as a medicine.
Yeah.
And it was being delivered as a medicine that could cure addiction, depression, anxiety, stress, PTSD, as well as induce a massive visionary state. Yeah.
So it's a psychedelic drug.
A psychedelic drug.
And it's people in the jungles of South America.
So basically, ayahuasca is a vine that grows in the jungles in Peru and in Ecuador. Mm-hmm. And dimethyltryptamine, DMT, is the chemical compound found in ayahuasca. DMT is the most potent psychoactive chemical known in man.
We produce it.
We produce it. We can find traces of it in our lungs. We're pretty sure it comes from our pineal gland, because we now know that it comes from
which is the middle eye.
Which is the middle eye, the third eye. It's in everything that's alive.
Yeah.
It's in mammals and reptiles. It's in the grass. It's in your salad. And the only reason you don't trip balls when you eat your salad is because we've got enzymes in our guts that break it down. So, I mean, straight away there's a question, before you've even experienced ayahuasca, well, why is there a chemical psychoactive element in everything alive?
Yeah.
What's that all about? And ayahuasca, the chacruna leaf, Okay, so basically, you need to extract DMT to be able to have the experience.
Yeah.
Now, the trichruna leaf has a high density of DMT, as does ayahuasca. But as soon as you put it into your guts, if you make a brew out of it by reducing it in water for hours and hours, like 24 hours, then your guts are going to kill the DMT. Now, somehow in the rainforest, out of like 200,000 different species of plants, they discovered that, well, if you mix ayahuasca with this leaf, it has something in it that can break down the enzymes in your guts that will allow you to sort of ingest DMT given off by the leaf and the ayahuasca.
And how is it they described that they found out about this?
Well, believe me, I asked.
Yeah.
And the answer that you will get is that the rainforest spoke to them. And one story I was told was that indigenous man who was living the life of bliss, having been born in a tribe, one day experienced a break in bliss where there was a sickness that came in and people started dying, and this had never happened before. And being the strong man of the tribe, he went for a walk. And he went for a walk because he thought, I can go and I can try and find something to help. And he walked and he walked and he walked, and he walked until he collapsed under a tree. And then when he collapsed under the tree, he woke to a man standing there. And the man that was standing there was a big man, apparently of Caucasian. I don't know why it comes back to a white guy. These white guys
bringing terror and hellfire
with a big beard.
Yeah, and this is a story in the jungle.
I was told in the jungle, and the man with the beard said, "Take this. You take this one yourself. Eat this. You drink it. You turn it into medicine, and you take this one home, and you take the third one, and you plant it, and you let it grow." So this man then has the ayahuasca experience, is enlightened or whatever, and he doesn't need to mix it with anything else because he's so pure as it is that he can take the experience and he takes it home and he feeds it to the people, and his people are cured. Right. That's one story.
Right.
I think the reality is they don't know, but what's fascinating with the jungle, with indigenous tribes, what I absolutely love, like, so in our culture, Christianity and stuff like this, so we base something that's from thousands of years ago. If you said to someone in the jungle, well, I believe this, this and this, and they would say to you, but who told you that? And I was, well, it's from a book that was written like 2,000-3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But did you know anyone that was in the book? Because all that they will take for their faith and belief says, well, because my dad told me.
Right.
And his granddad told me because his granddad did this. So if you say to them anything else, so with regard to these stories being passed down, I don't know how much, but they don't hang on to things like,
It'll seem strange to them as well, someone trying to tell them about something from a book, and they're just like, they probably won't take that as a truth. They only want it from word of mouth, from, passed down from generation to generation. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly it. And it's so much more healthy. And that's coming back to Ishmael. I need to tell you about that book. But so... I hear about this ayahuasca on Graham Hancock's podcast, or Joe Rogan's podcast, and I knew, it was a 3-hour long podcast, and I just knew I was going to take ayahuasca. Had no idea how.
You knew that.
I just knew right there and then, that was it. I got it. They say ayahuasca reaches or branches out to you. And if that was her reaching out to me, then that was it, because I can't explain it, but I felt safe at that point, and I was riddled with pain, the head, and the exhaustion. So I went on a mission. I went on a mission to find ayahuasca.
And what was your next step after the podcast?
Research. Right. Research, study like I'm studying for a degree. And realizing then how big it was. It's like you say ayahuasca to someone, they're like, "Aya what?" But when you start researching it, it's a big following.
It's like, and more so in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it's exploded. It's not necessarily a good thing, but
there's a lot of tourist trips, isn't there now?
There's some bad stuff going on as well. And unfortunately, if you introduce a lot of money to a shaman that's never had money before, I mean, they're only human. There's a lot of alcoholism going on. There's a lot of pretty white ladies going over to the jungle, and there's some bad stuff going on. Not with all of them, but you've got to be really, really careful now.
So you got to research where you're going.
Oh, massively. And, you know, I went on all the groups, Ayahuasca London, Ayahuasca Europe. And, you know, if the universe was looking out for me, then I think the universe was looking out for me, because, like, you're talking a year gone past.
Really?
And I was in the Trois Tams, ordered a pint, and I had to reach over a guy to get my pint because the bar was pretty deep with people. And this dude who's sitting on a bar stool looks up at me and he says, "I've been meaning to talk to you." Random little Italian dude. That was my Italian accent.
That's a pretty good accent.
Thanks. And I said, okay. Looked really friendly, nice, kind of stocky wee dude. And he said, "Yeah, about the book you've been reading." I was like, "Book I've been reading?" Now that wasn't too weird, because I, if I have free time, I'll sit in Costas and I'll read a book. I like to do that.
Could have saw you in the window reading.
Yeah, or been in Costas. But then he starts rattling off books, and it's none of those books.
Right.
I was like, "No, man, none of those books." Like, I can't remember the title, but it was like, no, definitely not that book. Anyway,
Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Like, the Beano or something. No, but I then kind of, so we drifted away, but only in conversation, and then I just sort of hung around this guy, but we weren't talking. And then I just said to him, "So, who are you?" He said, "I'm Fernando." I said, "All right, Fernando, what do you do?" And he was telling me he works in that outdoor shop in Vermont. I can't remember the name. And I guess I must have been asking him, like, obviously you're from Italy, blah, blah, blah. And then he just spat out, "Oh, I'm just back from Ecuador." I said, "What were you doing in Ecuador?" "Taking ayahuasca." And I literally grabbed hold of him physically, like, and I was like, "You're not going anywhere." Name,
what are you doing for
number,
the next 4 hours?
Twitter, Skype, Facebook,
Social security,
everything. Give me it now, and I want it on paper as well. You know, and literally, and I could see the smile on his face.
Yeah.
Like, just, I don't know. Like, it feels like there's some guardian angel sitting in the time. It was like he was just waiting for me. It was so odd.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's an Italian man in Perth sitting in the Thames, just back from Ecuador, drinking ayahuasca, and here's me searching for it all over the place. Turns out he had a flatmate in Edinburgh who was a Czech guy.
Right.
The Czech guy went to school with another Czech guy who's called Roman. Roman moved to Ecuador about 8 years ago with his wife and literally took all his clothes off, put sandals on, and lived with a tribe.
That's insane.
Just fell into it. His wife gave birth to their daughter in the jungle.
No way.
He hunted for his food with them.
That's the life.
And then became a trainee shaman. Now, that might sound a bit ridiculous, but you have to start somewhere. And a shaman is an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I then discovered through Fernando, like, so let's just say that in an undisclosed location, you can do a proper ceremony in this country.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you, that when you went to the jungle, it wasn't your first experience.
It wasn't my first experience. My first experience was here in Scotland. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, that'd be good actually, because I have been wanting to do it. And
it's with a travelling shaman, and shaman are literally leaving the rainforest now, because the way that they look at us is, "Hey, dudes, white guys, you guys need to stop and drink this."
Everyone's sick.
So they're getting on planes and coming over here now. So that experience in the pub led to my first experience of ayahuasca in Scotland, and that was in a woods, really sort of well set up. And first time I met a shaman, first time I met the people, ayahuasca people, I guess. Everyone else that was there was familiar with the medicine. I wasn't.
Did you go by yourself?
I went by myself.
Right. And what were you feeling? Any anxiety?
I was in. Well, it would turn out that my ayahuasca experience from then on then was going to be my headache. Now, I know nothing about ayahuasca at this point, but before I've even drunk it, I've got to the woods, my bag and sleeping bag and stuff, and I'm there. I am headache-headed up to the max. Like, I am just, and I'm raging because I'm like thinking, fuck you. I found ayahuasca and you're back again,
Right.
this headache.
So it's that it came back.
It came back, and I'm like, oh great, you're going to destroy my entire experience. Little did I know, really what's going on, my higher self is like, hey dude, it's time to listen. I didn't realise that then. So getting the preparation for drinking the medicine, I'm really anxious. The shaman takes me aside and sits me down, and he said, okay, so there's certain rules. After you've drunk the medicine, if you experience any spirits or demons, there's a certain process. You ask them where they've come from, what they want, what their names are. If you feel that they're evil, you tell them to go away. They have to obey you. Go back to where you came from. What do you want from me? And I'm just looking at this guy like,
I'd be freaking out right there.
yeah, what?
I'd be tripping balls.
Yeah,
I'd just
yeah.
see ya.
I'm just like, I mean, yeah, just not really much to say, just trying to take it in. So drink the medicine, which is as disgusting as,
Yeah.
as you know, there's no...
How would you describe it?
I can't understand how it tastes so bad. It's
Have you
like
just never-
It's like wood. I mean, it's a vine and its leaves, so it's not going to taste nice. But
Does it have an earthy?
it's like it's just so unique.
Mm.
It's so unique. It's almost like nausea, as opposed to a taste. It's like instant nausea. It's just so intense. Like, oh my god, even thinking about it is just brutal. Sometimes it can be sweet. Depends, like different shaman will use different plants as
Right.
well, and it can be sweet but still disgusting. But yeah, like earth and
Is that the one for the tourists?
vomit.
Do you
and-
get hardcore shamans? And,
not so much, but there is an element they can use different roots.
Right,
They just
okay.
like different, that you get things like the datura
Yeah.
plant, dragon's breath, which is increases visions. You can add that into it as
Oh,
well.
right.
You can add mapacho tobacco into it,
Right.
which induces more nausea.
I've heard about the tobacco
Yeah.
being sprayed into your mouth while you're doing it.
You drink it to your nose,
Right.
And I actually done a mapacho ceremony as well, which actually was my most psychedelic experience.
Really?
Yeah, like most intense experience of my life was drinking tobacco juice, like a litre of it. Basically giving yourself nicotine poisoning.
You were just genuinely ill.
I was genuinely ill, but the visuals. Anyway, so I drink ayahuasca and this first ceremony in Edinburgh, and basically it was 10 hours of major disappointment. There was no visions, no purging, no diarrhea.
And you've probably prepped yourself for all
Prepped
this.
myself for, like, I don't know, speaking of dead people or whatever. None of that happened, but I'm actually blind to what's going on. Because about 4 or 5 hours in, the only way I can describe it was like demonic, like complete loss of inner monologue, like the mind of a severe manic depressive, not in control of my own being at all, like absolute hell, just torture going on in my brain. Like it's a titanium skull. Every thought that's produced isn't getting out; it's staying in
Just
there,
rebounding, yeah.
going all over the place. So the headache's just going boom, boom, boom. And the problem with this headache was when it would be that intense, even after a night's sleep, there'd be a bruising, and so it was there again the next day. So I have this experience. And the next day, it's a 2-day ceremony. The next day, I speak, like I open my mouth. That's what I've always been good at. Is I've always asked questions, always asked questions. And I spoke to this big Czech guy. And he was really, like, had a good relationship with ayahuasca. And I just shared with him, like, what I'm sharing with you. And he said to me, so, always have trust and faith in the medicine. That was it. Like, really man of few words. I was like, okay. And he said, use the fire. Use the fire. Okay. And he said, everything's vibration. I said, yep. He said, your vibration. He said, you hear vibration, that's what sound is. And he picked up a rock and he's like, this is vibrating. You just can't see it. It's vibrating slower than you are. Everything's vibration. Then that was it. That's all he said to me. And so that night, I drink the medicine. No. That night, sitting in preparation to be handed the cup, I find myself staring at the fire because that's what you do if there's a fire.
Yeah.
You stare at it. And then I realised, use the fire. Use the fire. That's my meditation. And then I'm thinking to myself, have trust and faith in the medicine. Have trust and faith in the medicine. And I'm saying it to myself and I'm looking at the fire. And then I sort of unintentionally slip in to this meditative mantra where I'm literally, without thinking, going, have trust and faith in the medicine, have trust and faith in the medicine. So I've got into this really good meditative state and then taking the medicine.
Right.
And that's where it's at.
Do you think that was your mistake before, that you just...
It's like with every psychedelic, you have to let go.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot hold on. You cannot fight it. You have to give yourself up to it completely. And that takes a lot of practice. A lot, especially if you're coming from a manic mindset.
Yeah. But you're always trying to be in control. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that next experience with the ayahuasca was the best advice I could give anyone. If you're thinking about doing it, stop reading and listening to other people's experiences. Just stop doing it now, because it won't be yours.
Right.
It will be your own experience, and it's completely down to your interpretation. That second time, I experienced the purge for the first time. So for about an hour, there's just nothing. You're trying to, still your mind. And then, right, I'm going to be sick. And then you're sick. And you're dying. Like, you're dying. And it doesn't feel like it's ever going to end. And you're shitting.
Right.
And you're just like, wow, why did I do this to myself? But then again, I have trust and faith in the medicine. And after experience, you start to know with the purge, it will stop like that. Like you literally go from dying to stop. And after a while, you get to the point where you're basically just going, like you really, you get to control your shit, which is another part of the lesson, controlling your shit, controlling your energy. Anyway, after this first purge, I just laid down. And I didn't know what I was meant to do. I don't know the rules. Because there really isn't any.
Yeah.
I got some psychedelic, sort of typical geometric shapes. Didn't morph into any animals. Didn't speak to Mother Ayahuasca. But what did happen was, like, I suddenly was cocooned in this massive hug, like from the universe. Like, I was being held. And I felt really safe. And I'd never felt that level of protection or comfort in my life. And the strangest feeling that my brain was being worked on. Like almost like cogs were getting realigned, like and moving. And the more that I felt that, the more I could sort of visualize it. And the more that opened me up into letting go. And then it was more about just experiencing that feeling. And what comes with ayahuasca is this guide. And the guide, it was just like it said, shh, just feel. Nothing else, just feel. And then that would then be my journey with ayahuasca, was this recognition of silence and feeling. And no language, and how damaging language is, and how crippling words are, and labels, and just shut up. Shut up. Don't stop talking. Just shut up. And after that, I remember going home in the train back to Perth, and I remember like listening to nothing in my head, like.
Silence.
Whoa, that's what that feels like. And I had a coffee on the way home in the train. And part of the ayahuasca diet is no caffeine. And I'd been doing it for 2 weeks prior to that ceremony. And I had a coffee. And instantly my brain started going, ding, 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 ding. And I went, no.
I've ruined it.
I've ruined it. And I'm not even back in Perth yet. But what I did at that point was I started doing I have trust and faith in the medicine. And I managed to get myself back. So it was that introduction of the necessity of meditation as well. And that was just in 2 ceremonies.
Like kind of centering yourself every time you start
acknowledging the moments that take you into the crazy. But acknowledging them before they take you there. Like you're at a crossroads now, you're going to go left or right? Or you're just going to go tranquil and straight on? And mindfulness, just educated me, and it educated me really like that. And then ayahuasca gives you these lessons afterwards, you know, and there was a lesson right there on the train, coming home, drinking a cup of coffee.
Do you think that was your first experience of mindfulness as well?
Acknowledging it as mindfulness,
right.
You know, exercise and my running and stuff like that.
Forms of it,
Yeah, and forms of it. And, you know, when you sort of zone out and you're walking and then you forget, I don't remember walking around that corner, you know, that, but not embracing it as a tool. And basically, anyway, I knew when I left that ceremony, I knew I needed a lot of this, and I knew I wasn't going to get enough of it in Scotland. So I just basically put the pressure on David to hook me up with Roman in Ecuador.
Right.
And, you know, fast forward a year from that experience, I find myself on a plane in Ecuador, going to... No, dude, I don't think it was even a year, like maybe 4 or 5, I can't remember. But
and did you do ayahuasca again in between that time and when you went to
I done it one more time.
Right?
I done one more time. I can't really remember anything about that experience, to be honest.
Was there a lot of chanting going on when, you know?
No, an ayahuasca ceremony is it's very personal, even though you're in a group of people. So it's the shaman, he's the facilitator. It could be 2 people, it could be 10, it could be 15 people. Now, when you get the medicine, then you're on your own. There's no touching, there's no talking, and, you know, time scale, maybe 4 or 5 hours, you're there. And then after maybe 6 or 7 hours, then what's going to happen is we'll get a talking stick out, and we'll go around everyone, and everyone can talk about their experience. And then it lightens up a little bit, and the musicians will perk up, and there'll be a guitar comes out and something.
So they'll kind of slowly draw you out that state.
Yeah. And that's usually the way it goes. And get to Ecuador.
And did you leave a job before you left there?
No,
or were you
I'd been... I was still... I'd got myself together in a sense of... wasn't quite as off the rails as I was.
You had direction.
I had direction, I had a focus. But man, I was scared, like, I was so scared. But felt like I was being carried. Like, you know, I remember being on the plane. I went from Edinburgh to Amsterdam, and Amsterdam to JFK, and then I had to get on a plane from JFK to go to Guayaquil, which is like one of the most dangerous cities in Latin America. And
that's your first experience.
That was my first experience of it. But getting on the plane at JFK is where it started.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting on a plane full of South Americans that speak Spanish, and then I was on my own, and I remember like, oh boy.
Can you speak Spanish?
Yo voy a hablar español muy bien. Not going over there at all. But
so you are completely alone when you get there.
Yeah. I mean, I picked up the essentials when I was over there. You need to. And the plan originally was for me to go and stay with Roman and drink as much medicine as I wanted. But just before I went over, he got asked to help at a retreat for 2 weeks in the Cloud Forest Mountains. And it turns out that basically I was now going to go to this 2-week retreat, which is facilitated by a Dutch guy called Paul, who you do 7 days at this retreat in the Cloud Forest Mountains in a farm, which to you and I is the jungle, to them isn't. And then you spend 7 days in the jungle at 3 different families. So you do 2 nights drinking with a shaman, move on to the next family, move on to the next family.
And what was the reason for moving around?
Just the experience.
Right, okay.
I mean, this is an expensive retreat.
Yeah.
You know.
So you got to jump in it for free.
So I literally travelled for 48 hours, didn't really eat because I couldn't eat anything on the plane because I'm going to have ayahuasca, have a worst headache of my life, and then...
Is that through travelling, like
just
anxiety?
Through travelling, and my headache was there, and I get to this farm after a 10-hour bus drive from the airport, and I'm a day late. I get to the farm, Mario and Sue greet me, they're the owners of the farm, basically say, there's a shower, have a shower, here's a torch, go down there, watch out for snakes, climb down this hill, find a shaman hut, get handed some ayahuasca.
Straight away?
Like, basically, you know, obviously settled in, but the group that I then spent 2 weeks with had already had a night.
Right.
And...
So they were already acclimatized.
They were already there.
Yeah.
And I basically, so I drank ayahuasca at this retreat, and the reality of my experience at that retreat was just agony. Like,
really?
Yeah, absolutely hardest time of my life, because basically, you know, my headache was my mental health. It was a physical manifestation of me ignoring my higher self, my heart, and the conflict between being this spiritual, sensitive man and trying to be this person that I'm not, you know, the firefighter, and trying to fit into where I don't belong, you know. And my headache wasn't going to go away. And you know, the previous jobs, it would be a little headache. When I got into the fire service, it's like, hey man, listen, you're not listening. Yeah. What are you doing? When you take ayahuasca hands you your arse. And, you know, some people will drink 1 cup of ayahuasca. I've seen it happen. And they'll wake up the next morning like, they've been shown the universe. Yeah. They've spoke to their dead granny. They've been with my mother ayahuasca. Like, you know, it's
shot in a different dimension.
Different dimension. But she empties your glass before she fills it.
Right.
And for me, ayahuasca was a sledgehammer on the head.
Right.
And she was basically saying, listen, till you listen, this headache's not going anywhere. And it actually got so bad that the shaman had to pull me aside. I was on about the 4th night, and he said to me, listen, it's hard for me to watch this. And he said, I want you to come for a walk with me. And he went for a walk, and he said, listen, it's time to let it go, Bob. And that's all he said. And I got this wave of emotion. Like, I mean, I could have hit the deck into the fetal position and just hysterically cried and let go. But my ego kicked in. And I didn't.
It's a bitch.
It's a bitch, yeah, a total bitch. And he said, it's time to let it go. I was like, let what go? And he said, it's anger. He said, you rage, like deep set rage. I was like, who am I angry at? And he said, it's time to let it go. In the morning, when you wake up from the ayahuasca ceremony, you're not going to come up and have breakfast with the rest of them. You're going to come and see me, and I'm going to give you some San Pedro.
Right.
And you're going to go off on your own into the mountains, and you're going to let it go.
Now, I remember you talking about San Pedro from your YouTube videos. Yeah. And I remember you saying that you like that was that's my
medicine.
Thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. San Pedro's mescaline, so same as peyote. And I'd never had it before either. So the next morning I go and I take San Pedro in a disgusting form though. It was dried and then had water added to it. And then you get spoon-fed a massive spoonful like this powdery gunk.
Oh.
I wouldn't...
What colour was it?
Just like green and white. I would, if you ever get the opportunity, just drink it. Make a medicine out of it and drink it. Don't get the powdered stuff.
Snort it.
It's still as strong. But... So he hands me some... He feeds me San Pedro, and he said, right, just go down to the shaman hut and, you know, maybe just clear it up a bit. And then when you feel like it, just walk. And I just done exactly as he said to me. And I went and I walked to the river. I mean, this is paradise, just so beautiful. And I clambered onto this huge boulder, like a boulder the size of this room, like massive boulder, right in the middle of the rapids. And I sat on this boulder. And I don't know when it started. A lot of it was suggestion. A lot of it was probably compliance. But I just started to scream. And I mean, like, I basically went into like a 3 or 4 hour psychotic meltdown. Like, I'm not exaggerating. San Pedro lasts for the day.
Really?
You take it in the morning at 8, and at 8 o'clock at night, you're still with San Pedro.
Were you not anxious about what the effect would have on you?
No, because I sort of... that's why I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I was trying to embrace that, like, warrior. Like, I'm doing this. Like, you know, and I kind of think I must have known if he sent me away on my own to do it, you know,
he trusted
me. And I just, like, I mean, I don't remember a lot of it, but I had a visual of a rage gauge, like a petrol gauge. It was really weird. And I was like pulling down trees and smashing boulders and punching things. You know, the word like blood and spit and all manners of stuff. And then apparently I collapsed because I woke up and Roman was there. Now, Roman is this huge Czech guy, just a beautiful man, a pure heart, nothing more than love. And I open my eyes and I hear his voice. I'm lying on the ground. Now, I'd been sent off my own, but Paul had said to Roman, keep an eye on him, but don't let him know he can see you. You can see him. And Roman, I'm lying on the ground. I must have just come round from being somewhere else. And I hear, Robert, close your eyes. Mapacho on the eyes. Now, during an ayahuasca ceremony, mapacho is tobacco that's rolled into a log, in a big log, and then stored in a damp place. But a month later, you take it out, you get a brown, sweaty log of tobacco, mapacho. You put that into water, you get a really dark, deep brown liquid. And before an ayahuasca ceremony, you pour it into your hand and you drink it through your nose. You don't snort it, you drink it. Really overwhelming at first, but it's a tool to ground you. So you're a bit anxious, you take some mapacho and you calm. And it's literally a gesture. So in the middle of an ayahuasca ceremony, things are getting too much, put the hand out, take some mapacho. Now, you can take mapacho lots of different ways, but I've just come round from being unconscious and Roman says to me, okay, I have fresh mapacho, so freshly picked tobacco from the farm, and I'm going to put it on your eyes, as in he's going to squeeze it and pour the water over my eyes, but my eyes are closed. And he said, okay, so he's put puddles of this on my eyes, and he said, when you open your eyes, I want you to say, forgive me, mother, give me, mother. So you got to imagine the state I'm in emotionally. I open my eyes, it hurts so bad, like someone's just shoving needles in your eyes. So that, the pain mixed with the emotion, with the suggestion of the words, and you're literally screaming, forgive me, mother, give me, mother. And like, I'm all over the place, like tears and snot and everything. And then he tells me to close my eyes again, forgive me, father, give me, father. And then same thing. And then he says again, okay, last time, and put it on my eyes, and he said, this time you open your eyes and you say, forgive me, Robert, give me, Robert. And I'd done it.
Shit.
And dude, that's when I got it.
Really?
That's when it was like, you know, spirituality, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
There's a certain something that works. And when you take away words from mental health, when you take away labels and depression and anxiety, if you take away the word, you're left with an energy. And that's it. The word isn't there. You can't be a word, but you can be an energy because you're experiencing it, and that's all that we are. And that energy I can control. It's mine. I own it. And I can manipulate it, but I can make it much worse with words, and I can make it much worse with panic. But spirituality, at that moment, I got it because it was my willingness to comply, my willingness to be open to suggestion, and my willingness to believe, but whilst remaining logical and analytical and maybe a bit skeptical at the same time. But it was an acknowledgement that this works. If you allow yourself a physical release of something, swap pain for pain, the tobacco in the eyes, accompanied by a vocal release, as well as the psychedelic enhanced vibration, all those things together, that's the medicine right there.
Right.
Because psychedelics, they bring on a vibration.
Yeah.
All of them are familiar if you've ever had mushrooms. It's like every cell in your body's vibrating. You take ayahuasca and San Pedro, you times it by 1,000. Yeah. So you're forced to recognize this hum, this vibration. The shaman can manipulate it with an icaro.
Right.
He will literally sing an audio and interpretation of his vision, and he will manipulate your vision through vibration with his voice.
Right.
And with his special musical instruments, he can make you sick. He made me purge with a sound bowl once.
That's insane.
So he's teaching you this power of energy, this power of vibration. And that doesn't mean that you have to be all hippie man and have dreadlocks and stuff. It means that, well, now I can relate this to everything else. So if I stop talking, if I shut up and I just feel, then I can start to make myself better. But in that silence as well, you start to recognize who you are and you start to see all your flaws. And the more that you're silent and the more that you just feel, the more that you sit around a fire, the more you sit under the stars, the more that you're actually just having to think, where's my food and my water coming from? Everything starts to fall off.
Yeah, you start shedding all these
and all this stuff that comes from here in our culture.
Yeah.
And then underneath you realise, there's nothing wrong with me. There's genuinely nothing wrong with me. I'm actually a pretty awesome human being. And that it's the culture that we're living in that's so damaging. And if you're an aware, socially intelligent, empathetic human being, if you don't have the tools in place to be mindful, then it could be a really bad end for you.
Yeah.
You know, like a really tragic end. You know,
was there something specific in what he was telling you to say though that kind of that got you to that point with the Mother forgive me? That
was, it was more profound in the understanding of a different form of understanding, like your energy, like your soul. Like, so this is a tiger's eye necklace that I've got around my neck. This is a stone.
What's it made of?
It's a tiger's eye.
Right, okay.
Okay. Now this is meant to keep me grounded.
Did you get this after you'd been there?
I got this in Ecuador. I mean, you can get this in any shop in town, but I got this in Ecuador. And now it's just a rock. But if every morning I put it on in a ceremonial form and respect it, because it grounds me and keeps bad juju away from me, then maybe that'll just work. Yeah. And that's okay, even if it's just a rock, but I believe it in it.
It makes sense. I mean, if the mind's powerful enough to project that sort of thing on something inanimate like, a necklace, then it's going to work for you.
But it also, when I talk about the suggestion and the compliance, Mother Ayahuasca is a feminine and San Pedro is a masculine. So when you take these medicines, what you're trying to do is you're trying to break yourself down into this energy. So the yin and the yang, but it's just one. But in the culture that we live in now, with the evolution of woman and man, and we're kind of sort of drifting apart, neither one of us actually knows where we fit, and that can cause a conflict. So you get men that are like so testosterone out their nut and completely, sex craved maniacs, and you get guys that are really, really, really sensitive and sort of overly effeminate. But you're trying to find that middle balance somewhere, like where is man, the masculine, and if you're open to the feminine suggestion of ayahuasca and the masculine suggestion of San Pedro, then what you can do is embrace, well, what is the feminine? It's being open and it's the acceptance of love. But I'm a closed off guy. And love is a bit scary, and I don't really love myself yet, so I can't really let ayahuasca in. But in order for her to work her magic, I need to let her in. So how can I do that? Well, being introduced to San Pedro, I then realised, well, this is the masculine. Now, I went on a mission with San Pedro. I learned how to cook it myself.
Really?
And I found with San Pedro, being your own shaman was the best healing. And I would take shaman and go off into the mountains and go on my own. And San Pedro is accompanied by this like warrior-like strength. And you'll climb to the top of a mountain and you'll be...
Just want to run through the jungle and fight.
You can't like...
Don't take it on a night out.
You don't get tired, Not like warrior, like ego-crazed maniac, but like grounded Buddha-like, sort of solid. And you feel like this presence that's like, this is man. And for me, what I would get was these visual interpretations of a human energy, like consciousness, and it would be like the feminine and masculine spiraling around each other, but it would show like the masculine going, and it would the feminine, like they're not in one with each other. So I would use the masculine to come in touch with my masculine side. So I would embrace things like I was brought up by a single mum. I didn't have much male influence. In fact, men actually scared me. Men intimidated me.
Right.
Acknowledge that. The fire service, my mum's boyfriend, that boss that I had in that shop,
Makes sense,
all these type of things. And then become comfortable with that side of my being. The more that I work with that, then the next time I take ayahuasca, then I'm allowing her back in again. So gradually I start to fall in love with myself. And, that cliche, you can't love someone until you love yourself. Well, when I gradually start to fall in love with myself, then the next time I have ayahuasca, wow, then you just get that, and then she's just there.
But by the sounds of it doesn't sound like it was necessarily the feminine side that was the problem first. It seems like you were trying to deal with the masculine side of things because you were intimidated and whatever in your past by that. It's interesting.
I think there was a good mixture of both, but I had to work through the masculine side way much more. I'm not finished, like at all, like far from it. The visual aspect of DMT, which I've not spoke to about much, there's no coming back from it. I would go as far to say you could probably just go and smoke some DMT and
get there quicker.
Well, you smoke DMT, it's a rocket ship. Like you do not pass go. I mean, you're here and then you're not. But it is as real as you are. It is as real as you are. Your eyes see one reality for all this time.
Have you done both? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But there's no coming back from that experience. My first words when I came back from an actual DMT visual was, what the fuck? What the fuck? No way. No way. No way. Like, denial.
Yeah.
Like, no, that can't be the case. Like, what just happened there? I went somewhere else. Like, I traveled through space. I saw planets. I was flying.
Man, I want to do that so much, to be honest. It's something I've heard a lot about. I would love to go through the ritual aspect of ayahuasca, but just the pureness of being shot into a different dimension.
There's a chemical in all of us that literally takes us to another reality, another dimension. You can experience the consciousness of being a single cell in the armchair of a chair or the leaf on a tree. I once experienced being a tree where every breath I took in was a day and every exhale was a night.
That's so strange to see it like that.
And it's just like it'll show you every form of consciousness there is.
And it only lasts like something like 15 minutes.
Smoking DMT is like, oh man, minutes.
Yeah.
Like when you watch someone smoke DMT, they'll smoke it, they'll go down, and they get back up again. And then they're like, whoa, I was just here and I was there and I was doing this.
What year is it?
Yeah, and the first time I done it, though, and this is actually quite common because I went on a forum afterwards, you lose your body straight away. You smoke it and then your body's gone. You're not Robert anymore. You have an awareness that you existed. You can't find your mouth to breathe because your mouth isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And
what is your mouth?
What is your mouth? So the first time I remember just being like
struggling,
and there's this voice going, "Dude, relax, man. You don't need oxygen where you are." I'm like, I want to breathe. I want to breathe.
There's a cool series of videos on YouTube actually I've been watching where a guy takes like DMT and you'll like a trip in front of the camera, and he takes his friend through it who has I think he has mild autism and that, and it really helps him. But I think he took acid and then he started to get really aware because it was a big guy, the guy that took it, and he was getting really defensive because he felt like he would hurt his friends because he was a big guy. He didn't want to lose control and start hurting his friends who he was with. So I can't remember the name, I'll get it for you afterward, but the series of videos, he does do DMT and he does acid and DMT together, and the story from that is just insane.
Amazing,
and he was talking about usually when you take DMT you want to close your eyes. He sat in front of a mirror and purposely tried not to close his eyes when he was doing it, and it says it just shot him into a different reality.
It's literally like you smoke it and the room melts. The room is like Graham Hancock does a brilliant explanation. He says if you point a telescope at a star, the star's out of focus, and it would be wrong to think that you have to manipulate the star to bring it into focus. You have to manipulate the telescope. And that's what psychedelics are.
It's quite an interesting...
When you take DMT, it's literally like you're getting a chemical adjustment and refocusing on something else.
And can you really comprehend what you're being shown? Or
once you've done it a few times, the first couple of times you're just like, screaming. Well, I was anyway. But,
that'll be me for sure.
I was just like, oh, no, because you don't get a choice with DMT. Like things like stevia and stuff, you can fight it and have a horrible. But no, you smoke it and you're going. You're going whether you like it or not. Like, there's no turning back. But it, that alone is just like you come back from that and you then have to question why. Like why. Why did that just happen? Why does that chemical exist? More so, why do I produce it?
What purpose is that for in life?
I can't, and as much as it's a why, but it's a really good why.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, I come back to Scotland now, and I sort of have to sort of reintegrate myself back into Scotland. And at first, it's really, really tough. But now, as I'm here, I start to see the strength in me now, the mental strength that I've got. But because I see what it is. I really see this mental health is a pure byproduct of this culture. Human beings suffer. There isn't even a word for mental health or depression in the jungle.
That's interesting.
And I'm not going to embrace the negative that comes with it. I'm not anxious. Anxious is a word. Anxiety is a word. I'm not depressed. That's a word. I'm feeling this energy. And the definition of crazy is expecting change by making no change.
Yeah.
If you get up in the morning and you're depressed, it doesn't feel like you have a choice because your first waking breath is depressed. But that acknowledgement right there is a choice. But if you don't have the tools, then it still doesn't feel like a choice. But if I get up in the morning, feel depressed, and I go for a run or I meditate or I do something else, paint a picture, then I'm choosing.
You've got the tools to deal with
not
it.
to be.
Yeah.
And if I do that consistently, then I can get out of it. And I just don't entertain those thoughts anymore. And I recognise those crossroads as well,
And how have you been since you came back?
First, it was really challenging. It was really like too much enlightenment. I don't like the word enlightenment. I think that sounds quite...
Awareness.
Too much awareness is like a double-edged sword. Like, what do you do with that in Perth? But you have to put it to the test. So the ultimate test for me was something I always found difficult, which was focus and work. And now I work in a call centre, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I need my job. But it really would be, in the past, it would be something where my brain would be going, get out to help. But now I'm like...
You start to self-sabotage before...
Yeah, now I won't allow that. Now it is what it is. I can do it. It's not a prison sentence. I'm just much more... I'm in the present much more than I ever was before.
Have you read that... I can't remember the author's name, but The Power of Now? There's a book, Eckhart Tolle, I think the name is. I think I've got it in there. I'll give you a line of it actually. Awesome. But it's very about being in the moment. It's a very famous book, but yeah, I know it's good that you've got the tools to actually come back and just make a choice whether you're going to be dealing with it or not.
And it's important for me to spread the message as well.
You're in a great position because there's not a lot of people in the UK speaking up for people with these sort of mental health issues.
I've done a few public talks now in my videos, and it took me a while. Why is it people enjoy what I'm saying? And it's the comments that I get back.
Yeah.
It's a vulnerable confidence. If you stand up and you say, I was this, I felt like this, I suffered this, I took this drug, then I'm talking through the stigma. I'm talking through the repression of it. I'm talking through everything that apparently makes me not fit into this culture because I feel this way. And when other people see you doing that, you're talking from the heart, so you get heart back.
Yeah.
And it makes other people want to do exactly the same thing,
It's a tough thing though, definitely. It's good that you're going out and doing in talks for people to actually find out what you've been up to, because it's it can only help people.
Yeah, I'm blown away by, like, you know, people come up to me in the middle of the town, or, you know, I was at the Graham Hancock talk last week, and folk are coming up to me, and
I mean, we're running out of time, but
yeah.
I'm definitely going to have you back on, and we're going to talk about the, you know, your experiences with Graham Hancock. But if, you know, we could finish up with, what kind of advice would you give to someone that's struggling in your position at the start, you know, with depression?
I think, you know, when I say things like depression is a choice, folk can get upset and they go, but wait a minute, because I experienced this, I was abused as a kid, or this or this or that. Now, you don't dismiss anything that's ever happened to you. But at the end of the day, I'm 35 next month. Now, if you live your life dragging your past behind you, then it's never going to go away. It's always going to be a part of you. There has to get a point where you reach a point where you go, okay, this has happened to me. This has created this, and this energy. But it's time to let it go. Not forget about it, not dismiss it. Doesn't mean it's not significant, but to move away from it and embrace that moment right there as your rebirth. You know, every time we go to bed at night, we disappear for 8 hours and we wake up in the morning. Right there, that's the rebirth, and that's where the choice comes in. What you're experiencing, what you're feeling, is perfectly natural. The world is crazy. You're not crazy. The world is completely and utterly crazy.
You should make that a mantra.
That is my mantra. We're energetic beings, and it's overwhelming when you feel those horrible energies. Don't put a label on them. As soon as you put a label on anything, it's not your responsibility anymore. I got told I was bipolar, and I took it. I owned it. And you know why? Because now I don't have to make any excuses for my personality and for my behaviour. But it makes you stop trying. Own your shit. No one else is going to sort it out for you. If you're depressed and you're sat eating pizza and donuts and smoking, you're only making yourself worse. And for my whole journey was own your shit. You got to get yourself up, and you got to get yourself motivated, and don't hang on to the past. Like, find the tools that in the morning, as soon as you acknowledge I feel crap, make a decision at that very moment. I don't want to feel like this, so I'm going to do this.
That's brilliant words.
Keep doing it.
Definitely.
Keep doing it.
So where can people find you on the internet?
My YouTube channel is Robert Garrett, but your best bet is just to type in Robcast number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. I'm on iTunes as The Robcast, because someone already had Robcast. And I think I'm Robert.Garrett on Twitter.
Right, okay.
Well.
You're not using much Twitter?
I have way too much to say to use Twitter.
140 characters suck.
I just can't do it. And to be honest, I don't find people are good at Twitter. Like, I'll get messages on Twitter and I don't know what people are saying to me.
It's a domain that I don't really delve into, but because of this podcast, I'm diving into it a wee bit more. But
I don't mind Facebook with morals, ethics. Some people seem to have a problem with it. But
well, if anyone's, you know, suffering from any sort of depression or just want to learn about ayahuasca, implore anyone just to pop Bob a message on Facebook or YouTube. And it was good. Thanks for coming on, man.
No worries at all. It was awesome.